that we are here to speak with Mr. Margianta, or what he would like to be called addressed as Mr. Gian. Today he's going to conduct a presentation about 4C. So it's a creative thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And I think, yeah, this is just a short introduction. Yeah. So everyone, please say hi to Mr. Gian and make him feel the warmest welcome to AYO Ambassador Program. So just a little glance of what AYO is.
Halo Kak Gian.
Hello.
Hai Kak Gian.
Please say
Hai Kak
hi
Hello,
Gian.
Kak
Gian.
and make him
Halo Kak Gian.
most welcome. Okay. So we actually have 100, more or less, 100 ambassadors, and I think we're expecting more
Halo Kak Gian.
for the training today.
Halo Kak Gian.
Yep, a lot of people, a lot of people saying hi, yeah? So whilst waiting, I think Mr. Gian, if you may, please do introduce yourself so we can know better who is Mr. Gian, the speaker today.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abari, for facilitating the session. Hello, everyone. My name is Gian. I'm a part of several youth initiatives, such as Youth Movement for FCTC, Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which focuses on tobacco control. So it's a global health issue. And I'm also part of Emancipate Indonesia, focusing on modern slavery. So it's a human rights issue. But I'm also working full-time at Lentera Anak Foundation as a project coordinator for Young Health Program, still about health and young people. But I also help around in UNFPA as their youth advisory panel in Indonesia, focusing on comprehensive sexuality education and also about gender equality and also development agendas for young people. And I'm also a part of the Amnesty International Indonesia of social media ambassador to promote human rights issues in Indonesia as well. So particularly those are my fields. I don't know what should I call myself because I think I have several affiliations, but feel free just to call me Gian, and anytime you would like to also tell a story or would like to ask anything, I'm very open for suggestions or for informations or collaboration even. So yeah, looking forward to this session. And thank you, Jay, actually, Jay and his team for having me here again and again. It's always been a pleasure to work with AYO. I think one of the most professional and really consistent youth organization, not only in Indonesia, but also in ASEAN. So kudos to AYO.
All right. So whilst waiting for our friends who's maybe currently still on the way, you can ask your friends to join us on YouTube. So we had, all right, so it's live now. You can ask your friends even outside AYO to join today's training session as well. I think Sarah can share the link at the chat box, right? Or in the WhatsApp as well already, okay? For today's session, everyone, please do, if you have any questions or concerns, please do ask Mr. Margianta, but please do ask within the chat box, okay? So if the session is ended, we'll conduct a Q&A session and I'll moderate it accordingly as well. And also, everyone, don't forget to, because today is all about the digital and social media, so we would love to see you guys tagging us for today's training session because it's very exciting. If you'd like to conduct like a Instagram story or a WhatsApp story, do tag us at AYO ASEAN. And Mr. Margianta as well, please do after this drop your social media, yeah? So everyone involved can also tag you and tag us as well. And we'll repost it as well to see you guys. Okay, so everyone ready? Mr. Margianta, are you ready to conduct the 4C training session?
Yes.
All right, so everyone, this is Mr. Margianta with 4C.
Okay. Thank you very much, Abari. So everyone, welcome all the AYO ambassadors. Very happy to meet you all tonight. Tonight we're going to learn, but it's not a one-way street. So you don't only learn from me. I'm just sharing what I have. And I'm sure also all of you also have something to share as well. So please, this is a two-way street. Make this as a collective learning as together. So I'll be sharing my part, and then afterwards in the question and answer session, feel free to also tell your story, tell your thoughts. This is a safe space. So, you know, we are all learning together here. So yeah, feel free to just say anything that you would like to say according to this theme. So I'm going to start to share my screen now. I hope you can see it. Okay, here goes nothing. Can you all see it, my screen? Okay, great. So let's start. So everyone, tonight we are going to talk about 4C. This is actually something that I have conveyed before to the volunteers of the Gerakan Mengajar Desa in Indonesia, which in English it means the movement to teach the villages in Indonesia, especially the one in West Java. So I have delivered this material to them, and also I'm delivering it to you today. You know, and of course you can fit it into your context as well as AYO ambassadors, and of course according to our regional context and each of your countries as well in ASEAN. So 4C stands for critical thinking, communication, creative, and collaboration. So these are like only forms of soft skills that we can all improve on. We can all learn something from each other from. But of course, it has some deeper aspects to the context. So that's what I'm going to tell you tonight. So I think I have introduced myself before. These are my affiliations for now. Oh, I forgot one thing. I'm also a One Young World ambassador. So I was one of their delegates and speakers in 2018. Yeah, and there I spoke representing my tobacco control movement in front of, I think, almost 2,000 people. But that was just only one moment of many moments that I work with. I work basically on a daily basis, not on fancy international conference like One Young World, but I mostly work at grassroots level with my work with Lentera Anak Foundation to work with the primary healthcare centers, with the healthcare workers, with the students, with local leaders, etc. To build relations to make sure that they have youth-friendly health services. So who are we? Before we start our discussion about 4C, but we must identify ourselves first. So who are we, the ones who are attending this session now? We are basically mostly born between late 80s, you know, 90s, or even early 2000s. We are familiar with tech innovation, which explains everything, us joining this Zoom meeting. And sometimes we are torn between individualism and collectivism. You know, is it personal growth or is it collective growth, or is it even a choice at the end? This is becoming an existential crisis that is happening for young people right now. And of course, we are mostly negatively stereotyped sometimes, right? We are said to be narcissists. We are said to be lazy young people who, and also disloyal. We move jobs around a lot, but maybe in some cases just because we really know what we like and what we want to achieve in life, right? So it's another way of seeing it. But why am I putting all of this to you? Who are we? This is to identify ourselves, our strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But actually, this is also a form of information that I'm delivering to you that you cannot just digest and swallow. Because all of these things that I've been saying to you, I have no references, right? I have no reliable data to back it up. There is no references at all in my slide, right? But will you believe me or not? But some people will believe me anyway, right? Because they think like, oh, this is the speaker. Everything he said must be true. Everything he said must be right. But that's wrong, right? That's why we're learning the 4C. And the first point of 4C is actually critical thinking, because it is important for us. It is imperative for us to actually question everything that we are receiving right now, including any information from anyone, no matter how powerful they are in our lives. Oh, I think someone turned on their mic here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, we're going to the next slide. So 4C stands for critical thinking, communication, creativity, and collaboration. I would like to go deeper on the first part, critical thinking. We heard this a lot. This is one of the most overused term in any soft skill trainings. We have to be critical. We have to go, think outside of the box and everything. But I would like to show you just the logical framework of how critical thinking works. First, sometimes when we digest information, this is when I said we read. Okay, we read. It means like it doesn't only comes in in the forms of reading literally, but also by listening, by watching. Basically, we are receiving information, right? And also we're listening. When we try to know the information closely and better, right? We try to seek more references, etc. But then it comes to the most important part when we are digesting any information, especially you as AYO ambassadors, because you will receive so many info, so many data from your own countries, from ASEAN. It is very important for you to have this quality, which is questioning. Question. So we need to question things, just like what I said to you earlier. No matter how powerful people are, no matter how influential they are, everyone here that I said here, I mentioned in the red box, everyone is fallible. So everyone can make mistakes. We accept this in our inner consciousness, right? Humans are not perfect, everything, but sometimes we don't really implement it. We don't really internalize it, right? So we just accept that, okay, people are fallible, but we don't question why people are fallible, why people make mistakes, what makes them make their mistakes, right? What leads them to their mistakes? Why did it have to be called as a mistake in the first place? Then what is the right thing to do, right? So that is a form of questioning. That is a form of you forming your critical thinking. And then afterwards, you can write or speak. You can give back the information that you have received in the forms of writing, your speaking, video, etc. in the form of content. You as AYO ambassadors, of course, have done several great jobs. I saw your videos in YouTube. Some of them are I think all of them are very good. But of course, we have also to realize that there are 3 steps before we spread another information, which is read, listen, and question. And most important of all is question. Why? Because go to the red box again in your right. There is no such thing as free lunch. So everyone in this world, of course, they have interest. But it depends on the interest. Is it personal interest or is it collective interest? And of course, in ASEAN, what binds us together among all diversities of all nations in Southeast Asia is the collective interest. We want to build a mutual identity, one community, one identity. So that is what we are trying to build right now, right? But of course, at the end, no matter how hard we try to be critical, every action has consequences. So because everyone can make mistakes, so every action, every mistake that they make has consequences, and it is okay to make mistakes, okay? But don't make it as a habit, of course. But by critical thinking, we mitigate those mistakes in the first place, and we try to learn from those mistakes instead of trying to sweeping it under the rug, because the first step of solving a problem is to recognize there is one, and this is why it's very important for us to have this critical thinking. So in critical thinking, we also know reflexivity. So we have to make reflexivity a habit. Why? Because sometimes we tend to criticize or question a lot of things, okay? But of course, sometimes we have our times when we are too stressed or we are too get ahead of ourselves, and then we forgot to reflect. But actually, reflect is a very important part in critical thinking, right? What is reflexivity, right? What is the capacity to reflect? Here we can see in the slide that it is the capacity to reconsider your core values, okay? Be something different when necessary, rather than just do something different, okay? So it is the ability for you to reflect upon your actions, to think that you are not always right, to accept that as a fact, that you are not always right, that you can reflect and you can learn from your mistakes, etc. This sounds very rhetorical, but it is very hard in practice. Believe me, because I was one. And be aware and question our own attitudes, thought process, values, assumptions, prejudices, even habitual actions. So our habits, everything, we need to be ready that the next minute, everything that we have believed all of our lives ever since we were a kid, a little, then the next second, the next minute, it can all be wrong, right? It is a very scary thing to know that we can, we can have a shake of belief that much bigger, but it is okay as long as we make reflexivity a habit. We do not fear those kind of possibilities, right? Because we are always learning from each other, and that is what I mentioned to you in the earlier in this session, is we are always learning from each other. There is always learning and unlearning every day. So as ambassadors, of course, of AYO, you need to have reflexivity, because you need also to take into account the diversity in ASEAN, the diversity in your countries, or even diversity in your own communities, that actually makes you reevaluate the way you see the world, not only how you act in the world, but the way you see the world. So this is the quality and the importance of reflexivity. Communications. Now we get into communications after you have, got, critical thinking as a habit. Then you also have to learn how to communicate your thoughts that you have digested within yourself as a dialectical process. First, of course, the secret to speaking is listening. So no one that is good in public speaking, it's good in communication. They are always some of the best listeners around. So listen before we speak, so then we know when we are speaking, we do not only speak for ourselves or from our views, but we are also speaking on the behalf of other people and the collective interest, the collective values that we share with each other. Effective. So we have to communicate effectively, and loud isn't always clear. So just because of you raising your voice doesn't mean that you communicate effectively. To communicate effectively means that you can get your message across people. So remember, as maybe you as ambassadors of AYO, you might think that just speaking loud and seeming that you are very vocal is already the right thing to do inherently, but it's not. Okay, it's all about being effective. And which brings me to the third point, strategic. You have to be strategic so then you can be effective, and then while you are listening to other people in the first place, right? So strategic. Observe your counterpart. Who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to a minister? Are you speaking to your friend or your relatives, your family, or an academician? Because it doesn't mean that you are being hypocrite, right? But it means that you know how to strategically engage these people, because many of these people that you want to engage on different levels in the society, they have different interests, they have different ways of seeing things, of seeing the world. So you have to be strategic, right? You have to know what drives them, what moves them, what makes them happy, what makes them sad. So this is very, very important. Oh, I think there is something. Oh, yeah. Someone is doing a doodle. Okay. Creativity. Okay. Creativity. What causes creativity? Actually, it's confidence. First of all, the ability to question without fear, just as I mentioned to you before. Observation, seeing problems or ideas that you can observe. I have mentioned this before as well. Humility, knowing that you don't know everything, right? In order for you to innovate, to be creative, you have to know that you don't always know everything. You learn from other people, you take inspirations, and then you formulate it into something new. Mindfulness, thinking how to think, really be in the moment and be mindful, so then you can have better inspiration. Curiosity, exploring, experimenting, resourcefulness, something to tinker with. energy to explore and tinker. So you have to get also this, for one example is you got to have a work-life balance. You cannot only work all the time, but you can also be playing all the time as well, right? There are times also for you to stand up to your, to live up to your responsibilities, but also you have to make a good balance to what actually makes you feel energetic and be rejuvenated as and in this context as ambassadors of AYO. Action. So it's not just about thinking, but it's also about doing things. So this is the most important thing. Ideas are only sometimes as good as it is becoming a real thing. Right? You cannot say that, oh, I've thought of that before. Why people are copying me? No, because they don't even know you had that thought in the first place. You have to get it out and you have to try. Even though you have to fail, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay that you don't know everything and you make mistakes, because you will learn from it anyway, just like I mentioned before. Now we go to collaboration. Okay, so to collaborate, of course, along the way, as ambassadors or as young leaders, you will meet a lot of parties, a lot of actors, IGOs, NGOs, government representative, academician, or even think tanks, etc. But in order to collaborate with them, you have to understand the complexity, okay? This is one of Indonesia's traditional food. I got this actually from my mom. She's the best. So this is how to understand complex and or complicated. On the left side is a form of complex, because it's a rice cake, right? You just put rice and then water, and then you boil it and everything, and then you got the rice cake, and that's it. But complexity, right? It's what something more complicated is when you put the rice cake that you have gone through the process of boiling, etc. You add it with eggs, you add it with chili, you add it with carrots, with veggies, with everything, salt and everything, everything that makes it so tasty. We call it lontong sayur in Indonesia, which means rice cake veggies. And here it is, voila, you have a complexity of multiple kinds of things that have gone through their own processes. The eggs have gone through their own complex process of from the body of a chicken, transported everything, and then boiled, and then came to that plate. And then also the chili have gone from the complex process of from the farm and everything, and then they are innovated, just like I mentioned before previously, the creativity part. They're being innovated, and then they become a complexity. They interact with each other, but they create a new taste, right? A new taste. So it's not bland anymore. It's like a new kind of thing. So this is how a collaboration works, right? People from different types of complex processes in their lives, different kinds of backgrounds, and then you want to collaborate with them, and then it becomes something beautiful, even though it's all different, and then but you are all in one plate, and so a collaboration is the art of putting people together in that one plate, so then it makes a great taste with that is being understood and collectively and co-created by everyone. So that's about it. Also, you have to understand the complexity in terms of the term itself is complexity. Because why I underline complexity very much in collaboration, because sometimes people think collaboration is a one size fits all, okay? It feels like, okay, we have this program in Jakarta, and then we will go to the villages, we go to the rural areas, and then we expect the people to actually give us the same response and the same support just exactly by doing exactly what we did in the urban area, in the big cities. You cannot have that, right? You cannot have that, because there are complexities, there are contexts, local wisdoms, right? That you have to learn and you have to adjust every single time. I know it is tiring, but there is no other way, because we have to understand the complexity in order to build a sustainable collaboration, so then people will not think of us by only taking advantage from them, but we are actually building mutual relation with them to collaborate and to understand the complexity. What kind of complexity is it? So here from Santa Fe Institute, it says like there's no central command or control, okay? Non-linear interactions from various directions, we interact with each other when we are collaborating. and as a whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and it cannot be individually understood by components only. So it is like a very much a helicopter view from everything, right? But you do not alienate anyone. You do not alienate any realities that are existing in the complexity of your collaboration, right? So it is not the time for us, especially as us as young people. We do not collaborate by saying like, I have more money, okay, you have to follow my lead. That's not how you collaborate, and that's not how, the kind of ASEAN that we want to form, right? Because we are not talking about power relations and then making it higher by creating hierarchy in our collaboration. No, we want to co-create. We want to bring down the barrier so that we can move forward together in our collaboration. So it is very important for us to perceive what kind of collaboration that we want to form. Collaboration again, because ASEAN is all about collaboration, and we have to prioritize openness as well, right? So openness means like when you see things, you sense things, and you are being present in the moment, you're presenting, and then you crystallize the idea, you crystallize the collaboration and everything, the complexities, and then you co-create. But first of all, you have to be open, right? You have to be open to suggestions all the time. This comes back to the point of reflexivity that I mentioned before, right? So collaboration, it doesn't only revolve around, okay, we have the agreement and that's it. We stick to that until the end. No, at the end of the day, the dynamic of working in projects, working in collaborations, it always push you also to adapt with your surroundings, to adapt with the complexity of your collaboration with your counterparts. So this becomes a very important thing for us to be open. And how do we implement 4C? I just would like to take a little bit of liberty to actually go further, not only explaining it in a rhetorical way, but also trying to show how it actually works according to my experience. So there are levels, impacts, and methods to 4C here. The first is the level. The level could be individual or collective. The impact could be long-term and short-term. And the methods could be mobilization, media, campaign, and advocacy. So mobilization. What do you have in mind when you hear the mobilization? So maybe some of you will think like, oh, it's something that keeps moving. It's something dynamic. It moves people. It's gathering people, many people together towards one cause, a mutual cause, and everything. But actually, mobilization is pretty much that, actually. We mobilize, right? And it's not only about resources. Mostly in the public discourse, we only say mobilization of goods, of services, of agreements. But it's more than that. It's people. It's individuals with stories. And that is exactly why mobilization needs to be paid attention more carefully. Because we are talking about people, not numbers. So mobilizations are basically, roughly speaking, it's divided into two types of mobilization. First is online and second is offline. Of course, the online part is what we are doing right now, actually, in the middle of this pandemic. It's more practical. It's cheaper because just by a small data, maybe not really cheaper, okay, but actually it's kind of cheaper compared to offline, because offline is okay. It's more intimate. You meet people. It's more inclusive because some people doesn't have gadgets, right? But actually offline interactions and mobilization to mobilize people to come and work with our project and collaborate, it's actually sometimes more expensive because we have to spend money for the patrol, for the transportations. Of course we want to give them some coffee, some food and everything, but by online it cuts all of those costs. But through online, it's less intimate, right? No matter how good we are connecting right now, it's different when you're speaking directly to people and see them eye to eye, face to face, rather than staring at your blinking camera in your laptop or in your phone. And it's less inclusive as well for the people who doesn't have gadgets or doesn't have any data or good signal. So this is just basically a complexity of kinds of mobilization that we see now. So, but make sure that your mobilizing team actually has these things. So in every team, so probably you are here as individuals of AYO ambassadors, but as a collective ambassador community of AYO. But actually, you also have your own team, right? Aside from this, maybe you have your own campus organization, you have your own community, you have your own NGO, you have your own, a business, etc. But every team that is mobilizing people towards some cause or a goal actually has three types of people inside it. First, it's about the brain people. Second is the mouth, and third is the muscle. Okay, so brain usually it's a form of people who are researchers, planners, the one who plans the whole plans of the the collaboration that you're making. And then mouth, so mouth is people who are good in communicating, so spokesperson, negotiator, and everything, people who lobbies, partnerships, and everything. But there are also people who are like the muscle part, right? So field coordinator, logistics, going from houses to give donations, to go to the field. But actually here I'm just trying to say that this doesn't come in the ascending order, in a way that oh, okay, so brain is the best, and then mouth, and then muscle. No, 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 everyone is important here, everyone counts, right? And everyone has their own ways of expressing and contributing to society. So everyone is equally important. Of course, the ideal way is for you to be able to have all of these three qualities in one place. But it's okay if you don't have it as well, right? Because you have your whole life learning. And as I said before, people are fallible to mistakes. People are not perfect, and it's okay. Everyone has their own tendency at what they are best at, and it's okay. So here, if we connect it into the 4C that I've mentioned before, so the brain people actually relates to critical thinking mostly. This is the specialization. The mouth people, or the one who communicates, negotiators, they are mostly based on creativity and communication, because they have to communicate creatively while they're also thinking the best way for them to pitch their ideas as well to other people, right? And to make them willing to collaborate. And they're also the muscle people is basically about collaborations. They have a lot of energy to mobilize people to come to houses and go to the field work to the grassroots level. So they're all equally important, and they cannot just working individually at the end. So this is why actually we cannot only work as individuals, we have to work as a team. No matter how we think like, okay, I work alone, okay, everything that I achieve, I earn it myself. No, I don't believe in that. I'm not buying that. Everything that we have, even though we say it's individual achievement, no, somehow along the way, people always, there are people who helps us to get better, to process, and to actually be good at what we are good at. So everything is actually a collective process at the end. And this is the media. I would like to play this snapshot of my speech in One Young World. This is just a form of a media that I can give to you. I hope you can hear the video here.
Would love to introduce you to Margianta.
Can you hear it?
My man. He's the youngest speaker
Yes, we
at
can
the
hear.
Asia Pacific Conference on Tobacco. His message is that young people need to say no to tobacco, for real. And I totally agree. And 70% of the men in Indonesia view smoking as a male thing to do, as the thing to do. And you're actually not right. This young man has really taken it upon himself in a climate that is against him to really, really change his world for the better. Please, everyone, Margianta.
So this is an example of an international conference where you can actually speak your thoughts.
Challenges in Indonesia has been the tobacco industry's propaganda. The tobacco industry in Indonesia spends a lot of money on advertisement and promotion that targets young people in public places. The tobacco industry gives scholarships to students and athletes, and even organizes concerts and movie productions to target young people. Young people deserve to inherit a healthy world. We will continue to expose the tobacco industry for its wrongdoings. We will continue to push the government for greater tobacco control.
Avoid my crazy hair.
And we will continue to fight for the well-being of young people. Thank you.
Right. So why am I showing you this? So this is actually one of the examples of media that you can be present of, right? So you will have to practice your 4C at the end. And this is one of the ways to communicate with a wider audience about the things that you care the most. In this context, I was delivering my point on the importance of tobacco control in Indonesia. And it's actually another not a very popular thing to say, actually, especially in Indonesia. When you are pro tobacco control, people accuse you of being a foreign agent. People doesn't like you and everything. But actually, it takes a lot of courage, actually. And I every time I look back at this, I was like, no, this felt unreal. But anyhow, it has to be done, because I know that we have to gather more international support so then we can achieve what we want in our own countries. And that is the importance of media. You have to search for a strategic moment, a strategic medium. It can come in the form of conference, in form of press conference, or in the form other forms as well, in the newspaper. But actually just let it out there. Okay, so you have to gather more people that are not like you, so then you can actually deliver your points and actually try to convince them that actually you are on the same page as well. And it's very important. This is the point of collaboration in itself. And you try to communicate the complexity of your cause. And then at the end, of course, hopefully you will get more collaboration for your initiative as well. So lessons on the media of you trying to communicate more of your concern, and in this case, of course, your concern for ASEAN is please be up to date always and pay attention to the momentums. Is it when is the ASEAN Day? Okay, when is the Independence Day of Indonesia and everything? Actually, AYO is a very good example. They are always aware of the important days of ASEAN countries and ASEAN itself, and they celebrate it, and they always make something about it, the content and everything. Let people know that those days exist for a reason. And it's very good. It's very good to use in your social media as well as ambassadors. But don't be reactive, okay? Communicate wisely. Don't just jump into conclusions when you see certain surprising news or revelation. Just don't be reactive in a way like you react immediately after you know that information, because as I mentioned to you before, steps of critical thinking is actually for you to read and listen, and then you question, and then after that you can make any contents and everything, and you can communicate what you think you understood. Knowledge production and distribution. This is very important for you to curate your information, to curate your data, your knowledge that you have gathered, okay? Your photos, videos, banners, press release. This is especially when you are running an organization. It's very important for you to be organized in this context. Contact journalists and keep your network relations. So please be in touch. It's called 3D negotiation. for a reason, because it's called 3D, because you are in touch with them not only when you need them, but also at other times in their lives, and maybe you can offer some help. But it's very important for you to keep your networks intact. Now you have the opportunity given by AYO to be ambassadors. Now you know each other from other countries. Don't just be, make them your own friends, strangers in a WhatsApp group or anything. Please be engaged with them, collaborate with them, make something. Be in touch, be engaged. Campaign. Okay, so this is one of my favorite part, because campaign is actually very interesting and very much everywhere right now. And I myself, in my organization and movement in FCTC and Emancipate, we have done lots of campaigns. Here we can see the scarf that we made. Actually, you can also buy the scarf. The scarf actually is a collaboration with Hello Kahanu. So Kahanu is actually a social entrepreneurship, making fashion scarves, but actually storytelling fashion scarves. And then with our collaboration with them, we make scarf that actually tells the story of modern slavery issues. There are child labors, trafficking, garment workers, etc. And then we launched the campaign actually in Jakarta Creative Hub. We invited models in catwalks to actually use our scarf and then promote the idea, the issues that we're trying to promote. Because campaign is not only about going to the streets. Yes, I also go to the streets. I really like it. And I still think it's very important for us to show our solidarity by street rallies, because actually in street rallies, we are all equal. Everyone can join, right? But actually, there are more ways also for you to campaign and to promote your issues, your concerns, especially in ASEAN, right? We have the pillars, we have all the commonalities that we want to promote. Be creative in trying to publish your campaign, not only online but also offline, but also the balance between them, because too much online without offline presence is not good, and vice versa. And more about this, yeah, okay, this is me. Before you question, that's me in the Batman suit. That's me. We are actually marching for the environment, the climate crisis. So campaign, I would like to also tell you about the difference between argument, persuasion, and propaganda. So very important for you to actually acknowledge when you are trying to compose key message for your campaign. Don't be slippery, and be careful the way you package your campaign and you publish it to other people and communicate it, because there are differences between argument, persuasion, and propaganda. And it's very important for us to be, not to fall into propaganda, because in argument, okay, you still discover the truth, right? You're just showcasing things as it is. But with persuasion, you are promoting particular position to that existing reality, right? And in here, you already have a stance, right? So for example, when you are an AYO ambassador and then you're talking about ASEAN, you also have to know what is our particular position in ASEAN, what is the usual campaign, and how do we align ourselves with that, but actually also innovate and also be critical about it in a very constructive way. So it's very important for you to actually to make your campaign persuasive, right? Okay, persuasion is the way, because sometimes argument is also is not really enough. And propaganda is actually sometimes it's kind of wrong, because sometimes people also can be, it relies on biases. Sometimes it use false information. Of course, we do not encourage any false information. So just be careful on trying to differentiate between these three, especially before you repost any informations about that. So it comes back to the first point, which is critical thinking, to question things. This is advocacy. So I have been very lucky to have some important experience to work with Lentera Anak Foundation and also my movement, Youth Movement for FCTC, which is supported by Lentera. So we went to the presidential staffs at the State Palace of Indonesia to give our support. And then also we gave petitions, almost 30,000 of them, to the National Secretariat, and And also I was one of the youngest speaker at the APAC, Asia Pacific Conference on Tobacco or Health in Bali 2018. I was speaking aside from a Minister of Development of Planning, and also Minister of Health, and basically all important people. And I was like, what am I doing there? But actually it's advocacy, right? It's advocacy. Sometimes you have to position yourself with people who have more power than you and actually has the power to actually make the change that you want to see. They can be collaborative with you. But then it's an advocacy. It means like you have also to learn what their interests, how you communicate them, how to be strategic, how to garner supports as well beforehand. So campaign comes before advocacy, and the best campaign is a campaign that ends in advocacy, as my mentor always said to me. So campaign ends in advocacy, right? Because when you make campaigns, you raise awareness, and people will have the same spirit like you, and then they will be waiting. Okay, what should we do now? Right? What should we do? What is the call to action? And that becomes an advocacy in itself, right? When you mobilize people, and then you make this movement, you make rallies, and you gather petitions, and then you give them to the stakeholders that actually have the power to actually listen and make that change happen. That becomes an advocacy. So it's very important for you, and it actually has worked out pretty well in Indonesia, in my experience, as long as you are consistent. Steps of advocacy. I'm sorry, I'm taking too long here, but it's just I almost end my session anyway. But steps of advocacy you can identify is, first, you have to pick your issues first. What is the focus of you? Because there are many ambassadors here, but this is not only for advocacy, but also for everything, for your concern in ASEAN and everything, because there are ASEAN Economic Community, there's ASEAN Security Community, political, cultural. Which one will be your focus on the issue, right? You can like everything, but you have to pick at least one that is actually that you really like. And this is actually a no-brainer. You will in time you will know which one that you like the most. So it's okay when you think you don't know yet. It's okay. Just take your time and digest the information that you need. So pick your issues and then decide the objectives, and then set your target, and then identify the next steps. How do we approach this advocacy? Should we make a power map? A power map, like who is the most influential person to approach with? How do we get there? And everything that will be a whole session on advocacy, which I cannot spend right now, but that's just the glimpse of advocacy. So how strategic is your youth participation? This is very important for us as well, because many of us say young people can be the agent of change, la 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 la, but how strategic it is, right? Because you cannot only just do things. You also have to think before you do that, and after you do that, what are the implications? What will happen to you? What will you do? How will you react, right? It's about strategy. It's like a chess game, because I really like chess, and this is about being strategic, being a few steps ahead. So make no small plans, because they have no power to stir the soul. So every time you make plans, you have a big goal of you are trying to achieve collectively as ambassadors of AYO or in your own community. Don't go small, go big. Okay, because the first president of Indonesia, Sukarno, said, like, if you put your dream high as the cloud, if it fell down, at least it will got in the middle of the tree, and then got in the middle of the lawn and everything, but it doesn't fall directly to the ground. So I think just make big plans, because when you make something big, you have a big vision in your own organization, or you as an ambassador, it will be better for you to, because it can stir people up, steer people to actually be involved with you, that, oh, actually you have a big vision and everything. It's not about hard selling or being a salesperson, okay, to sell fake dreams. No. But of course, you have to also know that when you make big plans, you make big goals, you also have to also convince people and convince yourself. This is the most important part. Convince yourself that you can do it, that you believe you can do it, and you know how. So you have to learn the rules of the game, and you have to play better than anyone else. So don't just repeat everything that has been done before in the past. Okay, everyone is doing it, I'm going to do it because everyone is doing it. But is it really though? have to be like that, because you also have to learn there can be multiple possibilities, multiple patterns that you can use in your participation to be more strategic. And he who knows when he can fight and when he cannot will be victorious. This is one of my favorite quotes, because not everything you have to chew and swallow. Every opportunity. Okay, please, can you speak here? Can you help us and everything? Not every offer has to be said with a yes. The hardest thing in the world, actually, especially when you are at the certain level of experience, is actually to say no rather than to say yes. As a beginner, I always think like, oh, to say yes is very hard, because it takes a commitment. When I say yes, I have to be responsible. No, but actually the hardest thing is to say no, because by saying no, you know that what you can do and what you cannot do, what you can be committed for and what you can be committed for, right? So saying no, the art of saying no is actually very hard, and it takes practice. You might stumble, you might fall, you might hurt along the way, but in time you will get it. You will get it, and you will be more aware of your own steps, and to make your participation more strategic. So I think that's it. Sorry to talk so long, but I hope it was very insightful for you, because I'm looking forward to actually listen more from you and your thoughts, your questions, even your stories, and learning from you as well. So please, once again, this is a two-way street. Question or stories, please do let me know. I'm very much open to it. Thank you very much, and over to you, Abari.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Gian. Everyone, please give a big round of applause first to a very insightful session about 4C, creative thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. And Mr. Gian had shared his views and experiences about the issues, and we had some questions from the chat box. So let's move on to the Q&A session, right? I'll read the first one. So going directly from Indah Ratna Mufida. So she's asking about group dynamics. Sorry, it's from, the first one. The first one is from Gataria. Asking for about group dynamics. Kagian, every community might have fluctuating condition, like ups and down circumstances. Sometimes we're so close, interactive. Other times we are on flat situation. Do you have any advice to gain our spirits during those hard times? Thanks in advance.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Gatari. Actually, Gatari and I has worked on several projects before, so happy to see her here. It is very common for us to have ups and downs, and I experience it, and I still experience it actually until today. So it is a part of accepting your flaws, accepting that you are fallible and you are not always as good as you would like to think you are. And actually the key is actually to know that eventually there is a cycle when you are going down, and then in time there will be a time when you are going up. And actually it's about preparing and actually pushing you and your community of going up, of going to the next cycle. So basically those times in low times is a time for you and your team to actually reflect. So it's very important, but to reflect, you have also to be open. So be open to each other. Okay, we are putting things on the table here. We are not hiding anything. So what do you think what is happening now with our community? Why we are having such a low level? There's no judgment here. We all want the best for our community, and then put everything on the table. Don't hide anything. Don't toughen up. Don't be all the macho thingy, trying to appear strong. No, because it's not constructive for you to have to act like that way when you are in a crisis. Because actually in those low times, the power that you have, the best power that you can rely is actually the power of vulnerability. Okay, so be vulnerable to each other, bonding with each other. I don't know, cry. It's okay, because it is where you see each other not as colleagues, not as numbers, not as just fellow counterpart, but you see them as a person, and then you acknowledge, oh, actually they have some stories that they haven't told us. Oh, because their parents have some trouble, or they have financial problems, and people don't show these things. And actually, maybe we can help each other from that if we know each other better. So be open. So my answer is be open, and then make it a chance to be reflective. So then when the cycle is going up again, you will rise up even stronger than before as a community. So maybe that's my answer.
Thank you, Gian. I hope that it answers your questions, Ms. Gatari. Next is from Ms. Amarila Widi. So, hello, Kak Gian. I'm Rila from Indonesia. I'd like to ask a question. Having formal cooperation, I believe unlocking ASEAN youth's potential is not impossible. From your perspective and international experiences, what are the aspects that create huge differences regarding youth empowerment in Indonesia or ASEAN and other countries, especially developed ones? Hope we can learn from it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. It's very good, Rila. Actually, what makes us different from other countries or other regions, like the Europe and everything? Maybe sometimes we feel we feel so small, right? Why they are so developed? Why they are so driven? Why they are so ambitious and everything? But just take into account that we are not starting on the same same place, right? Because especially in ASEAN, many countries have rather a dark past. Many of us were colonized for many many hundreds of years and everything, so we don't have a same starting point. Even we have domestic problems as well in each of our own countries. We have issues with our government, we have issues with our own even communities. So that makes us different. Because in many other countries, these problems about basic needs, about access to maybe access to healthcare, to decent wage, human rights, is pretty much actually they have a running a structure of government that actually function very well in judiciary, judiciary body, the parliaments and the executive. They all work. At least some of them work. But in ASEAN, I think this is an elephant in the room. Some of us maybe are too scary to point it out. But sometimes the problem is not us. The problem is structural, right? The problem is structural. Why some have so many and many have so little? Why we still have so many people left behind and everything? So actually, the problem is structural. And by acknowledging that, we feel ease to ourselves. And every time we go in these conferences, just take into account that actually, okay, I'm lucky enough to be here. I know I don't represent all of ASEAN countries, not even all of my countries, not even all of my provinces or city, but actually I'm here and I have my concern that I can represent, and I'm trying my best to represent everything that I know according to my expertise and experience. So it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself, because at the end, the spirit that builds ASEAN, I think, is a collaborative spirit. So don't see this as a competition, right? I really don't like it when we see, like, oh, we have to compete in the labor market. Oh, we have to compete with other countries with GDP and everything. No, we have to do better. That's like the older generations, and we have to do better as young people, because we know, especially in this pandemic, it doesn't mean a thing when we are the best, but some others, are still suffering, and then it also prolongs our global problem as a whole. When someone is not insured of healthcare, doesn't have a job, and then become prone into got COVID-19, everything. And then everyone is vulnerable, right? So in these moments, we feel that solidarity is the way. It's not competition. So just be at ease with yourself, because sometimes the problem is not you, it's structural. And just do whatever you can in your own capacity, because I believe every one of us here you're trying to make a better change. And one more thing, one of the factors in international conferences is actually lack of Asian representation. I'm not talking ASEAN, I'm talking Asian representation, because I have joined several conferences. For instance, last year I spoke in Geneva in World Health Assembly. And there is a side event talking about youth tokenism and hierarchy. It was held by some international student association and some UN body IGOs. But actually, they don't even invite a single Asian speaker. But we all know that hierarchy, tokenism, ageism, you are being discriminated just because you are young, you don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. It happens mostly in Asian countries, right? And all these speakers were like from European countries. And how can we ensure that they are representing the whole problem, right? And that's why I call them out. Every time I saw those kind of issues, I always like raise my hand. I say like, I'm sorry, but this is not representative. I don't see any Asian speaker there. So when you are going to conference, my message here, please just don't try to make good impression, but actually do what is necessary for us to actually hand over the baton to our friends, to open more doors, to actually make Asia or ASEAN, even particularly ASEAN, be more seen in the world and be more represented and being acknowledged. Even some people don't even know that Indonesia and Bali is Bali is in Indonesia. This kind of ignorance, we have to stop it, and we have to stop it also by being active and engaging. And I think every AYO ambassadors here is here for that reason, to show the world what we are really capable of. Even though we were colonized for many years, even though we were exploited, we didn't start as early as other people, other countries, but we can do better and we know better. So we have our own voices. So that's my answer. Sorry if I tend to come out like very fiery. This is my default. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
No problem. We really love to see a person who's passionate in their work and sharing his views as Mr. Giarana. Okay. So next we have Mr. Ibnu Gali, who would like to speak directly to Mr. Gian. So Gali, can you please share your question?
Yes.
Yep.
Can you hear me, Mr. Gian?
Yep. Clear and crystal.
Yes.
Okay. As we know that Indonesia has a bad level education in visa. So I have a community also in my village. They are youth here. So my question is how to make them understand critical thinking in easy way. I mean, the youth in village usually don't like to reading or listening any news or etc. So maybe you can give a tips and tricks. Thank you, Mr. Gayan.
So
Okay.
yeah, I can answer directly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before we proceed, I think we need also to analyze our bias. Okay. All of us who are gathered here in this Zoom meeting is actually a small part of our population that actually lucky enough maybe to access internet, to have higher education and everything. Believe it or not, we are the privileged ones. And sometimes when we see people that don't live like us, from other social economic status, middle lower class, even lower class, and economy status, we tend to see them with our biases by saying like, oh, they don't like these things, they don't like to read, they don't like to do what we told them to do. But actually, we have to see the problem. The part of being critical thinking itself is actually to analyze the roots of the problems, the roots of the issue. When we see, children in villages, maybe they don't like to read. What makes them they don't like to read? It's not a given fact that they were just born and then, oh, I don't like to read. No, it happens because once again I have to tell you, it's a structural issue. No matter how many times you want to come to one village and then you try to give some education, to donate some books, but at the end, if it's not sustainable, You know, if you don't also follow up with advocacy to make sure that the change, the project that you are implementing is being implemented again, and again, to make sure that you have a focal point in the in a community who will keep running your project and everything, then it won't really make a change, a significant change, or even a sustainable change, right? So it's about acknowledging the complexity of the issue and acknowledging our biases, and don't be a don't jump into conclusions that fast, because sometimes our realities can be much more complex. So I'm not saying that there is one reason here, right? So the key is not, there is no one reason for all issues of children not liking to read in villages, right? Because there are multiple complexities and realities. It depends which region, which city, which country, which, you know, we can go and more, but the thing is, there is no one size fits all. So I'm here even giving the question back to you. You can also reflect more, and maybe you know about those children more, because maybe you have the experiences of working with them. And if you still don't understand it, and that's why you ask it, then maybe you can also ask yourself, have I listened enough? Have I listened to them enough? Have I understood enough? So keep questioning that again, and again, because this is not a blame game. It's not about blaming who's at fault at this. It's about analyzing the roots of the problem. Okay, there is structural, there is policy, there is a community is not really bonding and everything. Though, and then what can you do about it? Where is your role in it? And maybe understand it better, and you will find the answer. So sorry, I cannot answer the answer, because the one who can answer the question is actually the kids themselves, and you yourself, who have lived that kind of experience directly with them. So I'm giving over the question back to you.
Okay, so I hope
Thank you.
I hope that it answers your question, yeah, Gal. Um, we have a limited time, sadly, so let's try to summarize some questions that the questions are about starting a campaign or the difficulties they faced. So here's I think I'll move to the questions.
So which question should I answer?
Okay, there's a lot of questions here. So and there's a lot of, okay, maybe this shows that a lot of kids are paying attention to. Can the deck be shared after this, Mr. Gian?
Yeah, sure. I will share the presentation.
Okay, so from Mr. Ali here. Hello, Kak Gian. Can you tell us tips and tricks to mobilize people in big community for some issue?
I think I said what I said. You have to also see them not only as numbers, not only as colleagues, but as people, as individuals. You have to understand their own personal struggles, even their own personal interests, and how you can connect that as well with the bigger movement. Because and actually build a relation that is two-way, not one-way. Not you giving direction and or command, but actually to build a more egalitarian relation with them. Because trust is earned, it's not given, right? You cannot just trust me. No, you cannot even I don't buy it when you say trust me. If you have to say trust me to someone, then it's you showing that actually you are questioning your own trust to yourself. So the real trust is when people say I trust you, not when you ask them to trust you, or not when you force them to trust you, even like you have to trust me or we are not going. No, trust comes along the way. It's a process, and it can be taken away as well. It's not like once you get it and taken away anytime, because I said to you before, people are fallible. People can make mistakes, and it's okay as long as you learn. Okay, so if you want to make sure that once your trust is not being taken away, once you get it, and make sure that you learn from your mistakes. So I think it's pretty rhetorical, but I think it's my answer, because when mobilizing, trust is everything. Trust is everything. Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is the last question from Rida. Rida, she would like to ask directly to you, Mr. Gian. So Rida, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. So my name is Amel. Hello, Kagian. I actually follow you on Twitter, and I'm a big fan of your mom. So it's actually a simple question. Could you share with us several examples of simple acts that your mom taught you that eventually became your habits, and it took a big part of making who you are today? Thank you.
Wow.
Interesting.
No, this is just funny. My mom's fans are everywhere. They follow me even to this talk. uh, but yeah, thank you for the question, Amel. So for those of you who doesn't know, I was raised by a single mother, mostly, but my mom, of course, married from time to time. But at the end, she is single until now, and she raised her children, me and my sister, a little one, and it's not easy for her because she faced a lot of barriers, discrimination as a woman, of course, right? Many of you are here are women, and of course I will never feel that because I'm privileged. I'm a man. I'm a majority Muslim in Indonesia, Japanese, even light skin. But being my mom was kind of hard enough, and seeing her struggle, I learned a lot that I think what she taught me, the most important thing that she never said, I never, but okay, I haven't shared this in Twitter, so you heard it first. So she never shared this, but I learned it because you are defined not by what happened to you, but you are defined by how you react to what happened to you. So because my mom was like, she was in a forced marriage. She was, she had to pay her own tuition since she was like in high school. She worked and everything. Her life wasn't easy. But people will people when they listen to her story, people will think like, oh, she got no chance. She's not going anywhere. And that's what her family said to her. Like, you are the first daughter in this family. You are going to marry a rich guy, and that's it. You will stay in the kitchen. But that's not what she had in mind, right? And that's why when she got divorced, and she take care of me, and she even taught me gender equality by practice, by actually being a father and a mother at the same time, and also got a scholarship in Finland for her master degree, and in Germany for her PhD, work in UN, World Bank, everything, any international institution you can mention of. But at the end, she said, like, I said to her, why don't you have an abortion? Because you never planned for me, right? I mean, I would have been got in your way. But she said, like, no, because I chose to have you, and you actually are the one who kept me going. Every time I feel tired, I feel energetic because I see you. So this is how she sees the world. This is the best lesson that I learned is, when everything happens in your life, a problem in your government, in responding COVID-19, or in your own family, your family spreads hoaxes in WhatsApp, and you're tired of trying to explain things to them, or your parents doesn't support your dream. It doesn't stop there. You are not defined by that. You are not defined by those bad things that happen to you, because somewhere out there are people who will support you, that will go to the valleys with you, that will make sure that you are actually that important, that you can make a change. And when you define your reaction, and you create your own narrative, and this is what I learned as well. My own movement, tobacco control, why I made that movement, because my grandfather died because of smoking. His last words were, I need cigarettes, rokok mana rokok. That strikes me. Can I stop my story there? Yes, but I chose not to. And I chose to work on my movement, and then I spoke in front of 2,000 people, almost 190 countries in one young world, telling that same story. And actually, once I finished that story, someone came over to me like, hearing you, I also lost my family and everything. After this, I will really make them quit smoking and everything. So by me reshaping our narrative, reshaping the way we see our life, we tell our life, because we are the only one who have the power to it, right? Don't let anyone define your life or your narrative. Don't let just follow the flow. No, you decide your course. You decide where you want to be, where you want to go. I think that's the what she taught me from my mom, from experience. Sorry, I'm just being a bit personal here, but this is just a lesson that I learned. So you shape your own narrative. You shape the way you see yourself and how you move from that, how you learn from that. So I think that's the answer.
All right, thank you so much. So everyone, sadly, because of the limited time that we have to end the Q&A session. But I believe that Mr. Gian would love to hear your question directly. If, say, afterwards, Mr. Gian, I want to ask you a question. Where can I reach you?
Oh, okay. How you can reach me? I'm pretty easy to reach. My social media handles are all Margianta, Margianta, just like it says in the poster or in my username. In Instagram, it's Margianta. In Twitter, it's Margianta. You can also find me in LinkedIn, Margianta Surahman. Also in Facebook, my email is margianta@gmail.com. So feel free to actually ask me questions or give me inputs. I'm open for them. Also, I'm most active in Twitter actually recently because of COVID and everything. But yeah, just reach me out if you would like to also have collaboration. Also, especially with my organization Emancipate Indonesia, focuses on modern slavery. Also, tobacco control, FCTC, or even Amnesty International and UNFPA. So yeah, just give me a word.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Before we close this session, let's take a photo, digital e-photo as per usual. So please do turn on your camera and get a little, we can do a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of touch-up. It's okay lah, guys. In the moment, I really would like to say a big thank you on behalf of SN Youth Organization and the program of 2020 IO Ambassador. Thank you so much, Mr. Gian. Really lovely session for our sixth training session here tonight. A very insightful, a very fruitful discussion as well. So can anyone open the camera? Okay, let's take a picture first. Please, Lyndon, can please take a picture? Okay. Lyndon, can please count to 3 and take a picture of all. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sarah, could you help with this? I think I'm more experienced.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, I'll take it directly, yeah.
Okay.
So, all right, big smiles, everyone. We're going to take it 3 times because 3 pages, right? So already open all the camera. All right. So switch is 1, 2, 3. All right, another one. All right, 1, 2, 3. And the last one. All right, last one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much as well, Mr. Margianta. Do you have any closing remarks for all of us today?
Whatever you do, wherever you are, one action matters. So don't belittle yourself. Don't think small of yourself. Every action matters. Every word matters even. So we all have a role in this pandemic. I say this over and over again, but we all have a role in this pandemic. This is a global struggle for solidarity. It's not the time for us to compete, and not even ever. Because if we want to see a better country for each of our own countries, a better region for ASEAN, it is the spirit of collaboration, not the spirit of competition that we have to build with each other. So solidarity, 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 unionize, 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 and of course, question, question, question everything. Don't just follow instructions. Be critical among your surroundings. So yeah, that's my closing remarks.
All right, thank you so much. So everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you as well, Mr. Margianta, and we'll see you after this. We'll share the deck as well, and we'll hope that this training session will help you on conducting the next individual projects or the group projects, and the most important is the capstone projects. Okay, but most importantly, stay healthy, stay safe, and thank you so much again, Mr. Margianta, for today's session. Okay, so good luck, have a nice weekend, and good night. Right, bye bye. Cheers, everyone.
Bye. You can say directly. Thank you,
Thank you, Kak Gian.
Margianta.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kak
Gian.
Kak
Thank you.
Gian.
Yuk Kak, Kagian.
Thank you, Kak Gian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kak.
Thank you, Kak Gian.
Please say thank you in your own language.
Yeah, sure.
Terima
Aman.
kasih.
Tinggi yuk apa?
Terima kasih, Kak
Terus
Gian.
nuhun.
You're so
Terima kasih.
inspiring. Thank you.
Terima kasih.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good luck for the second IP.
Good luck, Linden, for your internship.
Sarah,
We're still on live.